Louis Riddick of the Mothership, ESPN NFL college football analyst. Did the Giants get the right guy, Louis?
No question. Look, Dan, I've known John for a long time. He was an assistant. I don't know if he's a grad assistant or just an assistant on our staff at the University of Pittsburgh when I was there as a freshman and sophomore, I believe. He was there with his dad, Jack. Who was a great friend of Mike Gottfried. So I've known John a long, long time. I know what his family values and how they look at the game of football. Um, I've been fortunate enough, along with our team, to call multiple Monday night games and talk to him multiple occasions about team building, player development, roster construction, coaching staff construction, philosophical beliefs, as far as how the game needs to be played. And I'll tell you, to me, he is the true definition of a CEO when you're talking about a head coach and what that role really does entail. Because he started off as a special teams coach, right? And then Andy gave him more exposure to defense to kind of round out his resume a little bit more when he was coaching there, so he could become a head coach. I think he is someone who, on the way out in Baltimore, like something just doesn't sit well with me with the way that all went down because of the role that I know that player accountability plays in team underperformance, right? And obviously, we live in a world and in a society where everyone's looking for, I got to find that guy who I can hang it on, that guy who I can put it around his neck, and that guy who I can hold accountable. And there's a lot of people who behind the scenes who sit back and just kind of go, whew, well, I escaped that one. Whew, well, I escaped that. There's a lot that went into that team's underperformance, in my belief. And I think, yeah, spinning it forward. I love what Coach Dayball did as far as really vouching for Jackson Dart and kind of selling him to John. And obviously, ownership up there is going to give him everything that he needs. And it's a quick trip right up 95, man, for him, which is super cool. And I think he's going to do a hell of a job. I think he's going to be recharged and kick it right in the ass like he should.
Was this the best opening, in your opinion?
Um, I think because of the quarterback situation and the young pieces situation, where if you were like to list the top five positions on a football team that you needed to have in place in order to then fill out everything around it, yeah, I think when you look at the fact that you have Jackson Malik coming back, you have edge pass rushers, you have a guy who can be a workhorse every down back. He's going to still need to fix that offensive line and make it something that becomes more consistent. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things in place right there. Now, obviously, player identification, selection, development, all that stuff has to still happen. But yeah, a lot of the foundation is right there. It really is. And I think, like, the Big Blue fan base is as passionate as there is in football. There's a lot of alumni who are sitting there going, thank you. Thank you, And I think he's going to have a lot of support behind him and a lot of wind pushing him along to where I think this is going to be a spot where now the Giants are going to be players again, for real.
Let's take out the legacy of the Steelers. Let's just look at what that roster is.
Mm-hmm.
How good a job is this?
Um, Look, I think the number one, okay, so when you look at how good of a job is it, if we're talking about, excuse me, ownership structure and stability plus GM, quarterback, all that alignment that really does factor into how good of a job is. Look, ownership is rock solid. So you know that there's someone who's going to really try and identify a person that they think is going to be long term, and they're going to give them a lot of leeway in order to kind of learn on the job, just like they did with Mike, just like they did with Coach Cowher, just like they did with Chuck Noll. So I think that obviously makes it attractive immediately. Number one, because you're going to have time. Number two, you're going to have time because they don't have a quarterback. So I think that may knock it down for some. And people are going to go, well, what the hell are they going to do there? Well, that's a great question. Well, that's part of the deal. That's why they're kind of in this situation in the first place. It's kind of what more wore Mike out, I believe, at the end, along with a bunch of other things. The fact that they just couldn't get that position right. But I think once they figure that out, I think there are some young pieces on the offensive line. I think you have to continue to fill out the wide receiver core around DK Metcalf and make sure that is a position of strength. Running back's a position of strength. Defense is aging and probably a little bit too high priced for long-term sustainability and needs to be revamped and rebooted. But there's so many things though that will make that place attractive to top level coaches for sure. And number one is the fact that they're not just going to turn over coaches at the first sign of there being some kind of adversity, like so many other places do. And that's probably the number one thing that prospective head coaches should be looking for. How much time is the coach going to give you? How much, I mean, is the owner going to give you? How much support are they going to give you? And then how much support are they going to give you to go out and get the assets that you need? Mr. Rooney will do what he needs to do in order to get them what they need to get to make this team successful. Simple as that. Then it's up to Omar and whoever they pick to get the job done.
But you look at certain openings, you got to win now in Pittsburgh. It's not just get to the playoffs. You got to win now in Baltimore. It's not just get to the playoffs. Whereas Atlanta, Miami, Cleveland, Arizona, Tennessee, even the Giants, you get a grace period. You walk into Baltimore, you better make the playoffs. And Pittsburgh the same way.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? I kind of look at those two teams a little bit different, simply because, look, in Pittsburgh, you better win now simply because Mike always kept it above water, right? He was always in the hunt, but just couldn't get over the top for whatever reason it was. Whatever you want, if you wanted to pin it on his schemes, strategies, tactics, lack of quarterback play, whatever you wanted to pin it on. But the fact is, now that one crucial piece that you know will give you a chance to win now is not there. So there's going to need to be an adjustment of expectations there. There just is. And I think Mr. Rooney will figure, like, he knows that, although he says, hey, look, this isn't a retool. I mean, this isn't a rebuild. Okay, you can say that now. But the reality is, what's your answer then? What's your answer at quarterback? At Baltimore, I agree with you. For sure, you better win now. And I'll tell you what, I'll even take it a step further. The players that are there, they're the ones who better make sure that they win now. Because one of the primary reasons why John is not there is because the player, well, there's a number of different things. One, we talked about this being maybe one of the best rosters in football, et cetera, all the time. This year, maybe not. Maybe look at their front seven and look at how many injuries they suffered on the front that really did limit the things that they could do defensively. But number two, their best players need to practice, need to hold themselves accountable, need to be held accountable, need to know the scheme inside and out, need to be able to execute at a high level at all times. And those are things that I'll tell you what, coaches can only do so much. They're going to get a fantastic coach. There's no question about that. But the players have to pull their weight. The players have to own up. We just heard Jason Kelsey talking about this the other day with Philadelphia, where he was screaming about the fact that, we can sit there and we can pin it on Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo and just kick them in the ass all we want about, well, their scheme sucks, it's vanilla, it's this, it's that, it's this. We get so far away from sometimes about the fact that, I don't know too many. Look, I've been around some bad coaches, don't get me wrong. I've been around some coaches who didn't teach me anything. But by and large, I'm going to have some faith in the fact that, the NFL is comprised of people who are pretty competent at their job. I was never coached ever to fumble the football, jump off sides, pull someone's face mask, drop the football, take bad angles to the football, not wrap up when you're supposed to tackle. I was never coached to do that kind of stuff. But now, as soon as players don't do that, fire the coach. Get his ass out of there. Get someone else. Fire the coach. They're not good. They're not. It's like, hey, if Baltimore has that good of a roster like everyone says they do, then they should be playing a lot better than what they are. And you're right. They better win next year. Right away. No question about it.
Talking to Louis Riddick of the Mothership, their NFL college football analyst. What is Aaron Rodgers' football future?
I would never speak for Aaron Rodgers, but I think Mr. Rooney put it bluntly. I think in Pittsburgh, it's done. He said he came here to play for Mike. Mike's gone. I think that pretty much closes he didn't say it closes the door on that, but I think it closes the door on that. I don't know. I thought that really was an ideal spot for him. I thought that he needed Mike. Mike needed him, given where they were at. As far as Mike, where he was in his tenure, he probably knew that was his last run, and Aaron probably needed to just go somewhere where he really respected that guy great, great traditional like blue blood organization, and where he would just play ball, and that's what he did to the best of his ability. I don't know where else you can go to really top that at this point. He ain't going nowhere as no backup. He's not going. Aaron, Aaron, I think we may have seen the last of him. I don't know, but that would be my guess.
Give me the road team that wins this weekend.
Oh boy, I'm actually trying to think. Who's on the road?
Buffalo's in Denver. Houston's in New England. You got the Niners in
Yeah,
Seattle.
I
Rams.
think, I think,
Rams are favored. Let's take them
yeah,
out of this.
yeah. And you know what? I think Houston is probably the one that, because their defense, Dan, is so nasty, physical, opportunistic, and can play in any kind of environment. They're so mentally tough that I know that people go, well, there's no way Houston can keep winning like this because CJ can't afford to keep playing like that. Yeah, you know what? You're right. And he won't keep playing like that. I don't believe he'll keep playing like that. Now, I love Mike Vrabel. I love how he has that team playing. You talk about connecting with a roster. Holy moly. I mean, the people in Tennessee, I don't know what happened down there, but I don't know how you didn't see the unique qualities and skills that this man has as a head coach. Unless he developed something in that year where he was just like, you know what? I need to tweak this about how I connect with players. I need to tweak that. And this is going to make me so much. He's pushing all the right buttons, man. All of them, every single one. But D'Amico Ryans is a special, special cat. And he's got a special defense that is among the best that I've ever seen. And and I played on a pretty good one too. Our '94 team in Cleveland, that was one of the best in scoring defense in history. They have got some dudes, and that at this time of year is a lot of what you need.
Yeah, when you have a team, you have a front that you don't have to blitz. Makes it
Yeah,
makes it a whole lot easier for the secondary. Give me
no
the game.
question.
Give me the game that could be a blowout.
Oh, you know what? I really don't. I don't think any of them will be. I think there's a reason why this is considered the best weekend in the NFL, because I think at this point, look, there's a lot of things that go into it, right? I think nerves start to play a factor. I think people get a little bit more tense. I don't know if one, and I think that works in both ways. And I don't think where it's going to be like one team really just craps the bed and just gets blown out, and then um another team just plays above and beyond what they played all season long. I really don't see it that way. I don't. Um, I am interested to see just how Buffalo is able to overcome the injuries that they have had on the offensive side of the ball, in particular wide receiver, especially against the defense like Denver's that is just so aggressive. And the team that's, I would think Sean has them like tuned up to play at the very highest level and really ready to rock and roll. Buffalo doesn't traditionally get blown out, but that's a football team that I think I think they're going to play their very best at this time of year. I really do. I think Denver's going to hit their stride, and we're going to see the very best of what they have to offer. Because I really do think that Sean Payton's one of the very best to ever do it. That's another guy who knows how to push the right buttons and get his teams to really juiced up and ready to go. And I'm a big fan of Bo Nix, man.
Who was the quarterback that you got into the postseason and you realized you were not going to rattle? That you were like, damn.
Ah, but you weren't going to rattle. Well, there's so many different guys. I mean, there's young guys and there's old grizzled vets who've kind of been down this lane, down this road before. I think Matthew Stafford, because of how his season started and because of all the
No,
talk
that
that was.
that you faced when you
Oh,
faced.
that I faced.
Yeah,
Oh,
like where
okay.
you were like, oh boy, this guy he's better in the postseason. We're not going to rattle him. Who was there? One guy.
Um, no, there wasn't one. Um, and really, when we got in the postseason, I mean, the guys who we faced at that time where, I mean, Bledsoe was a rookie. Neil O'Donnell was kind of like an old grizzled vet in Pittsburgh. I mean, that, you know what, I would probably say that. I would say Neil O'Donnell simply because of the fact that at that time, that's who our nemesis was. It was the Steelers, and you couldn't rattle that football team, period. I mean, that team was just like Tomlin likes to say now, nameless gray faces. That's what they were. They were just machines. And hell, I mean, if you had um, Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, Chad Brown, Levon Kirkland, Carnell Lake, Rod Woodson, you wouldn't get rattled either. You wouldn't be worrying about too much stuff either.
Yeah, but Neil O'Donnell's not the quarterback that I thought you were going
You're
to
right.
go.
You're right. He's not. He's not. But I think of the team, the guys that we faced back then. Look, I think obviously, when I was in Oakland, you knew that you weren't going to rattle Elway. I mean, he was just rock solid. Another guy who kind of like for me, who was probably the guy who I really thought when we played against him, I thought, damn, this guy is really good. He just doesn't get enough credit. Was Mark Brunell. Mark at his height in Jacksonville in his early days was a problem. He was the literal reincarnation of Steve Young. That's what he was. And there's nobody who I respect more than the great Steve Young.
Was it Keenan McCardell?
Yeah, and Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy Smith. Those were good receivers.
Hey, and Kyle Brady, right? I think he was there.
Good tight end, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think Fred was there.
Fred Taylor, yeah.
Tony was there.
He was underrated. Fred Taylor, underrated.
Think about those names right there, right? Those are some guys right there. Some legit guys. I think it was Tony Bracken still. Tony Bracken was there on defense. Donovan Darius was one of the safeties. They had some guys, man. Tom Coughlin put together a hell of a team down there. Hell of a team.
Great to talk to you. Have fun this weekend. As always, thanks for joining us.
You bet, man. Thanks a lot.
That's Louis Riddick of the Mothership. Used to work in the front office with Washington and Philadelphia. He's a analyst for the Mothership.